This is called Generational Wealth Scholarship. And the tagline is, how far will your legacy exceed your lifetime? Right? Because this is a step-by-step program that helps families build generational wealth. So let's jump right in. So first, I want to share with you what my intention is. What my intention is. So as a real estate investor, I have been very blessed with the privilege of meeting and networking with many wealthy families. And I often notice that one of the most common characteristics of wealthy families is that they plan ahead. And I'm not just talking about planning years in advance. I'm talking about how they plan generations in advance, right? They plan generations in advance. They are intentional and strategic about building generational health and wealth. Now, in contrast, I have been noticing that a lot of quote unquote regular people, right, either have zero or very little money saved for retirement. And I came up with this idea to help people save for retirement and at the same time help my company secure more corporate sponsorships to fund our financial seminars. So my company is offering to pay people to attend my 1 hour financial webinar called Hanya Generational Wealth Summit. But there is a catch, right? There is a catch to it, right? The money is coming with strings attached. We require that people use the money to open up a Roth IRA stock index fund via Fidelity Investments for themselves and custodian Roth IRAs for each of their minor children, if applicable, right? We want the whole family involved, right? And now during the 1 hour financial webinar, I will answer any questions they have and I will walk them through the process of opening up the accounts. Now, some frequently asked questions. You may be wondering, how many people will my company hire and how will each person be paid? Well, that's a great question. My company will hire 100 people and each will be paid whatever the minimum is to open up their and their children's Roth IRA accounts via Fidelity Investments. Now, I want you to look up how much it takes to open up a Roth IRA with Fidelity, right? That's one of the action items that I want to give to you, right? Because I want people to get into the habit of doing their research. Now, another question that you may have, you might be wondering, how will we be able to open up custodian Roth IRAs for babies and kids who do not have earned income, since earned income is one of the IRS requirements for opening up a Roth IRA? That's a great question. Here's the answer. My company will hire the babies and the kids as models and by using their pictures as part of the social media marketing of my public speaking business, such as the promotional material for the Hanya conferences and webinars and mastermind groups, the money I pay them is legitimately earned income. And therefore, they become qualified to have their parent or any adult open up a custodian Roth IRA for them, right? Very clever, right? Another question you may have is, in addition, you may be wondering, why am I requiring that the accounts be opened up via Fidelity Investments? Well, I personally like Fidelity because their website is very user-friendly and they even have a dedicated section for custodian Roth IRAs. And their customer service hotline is very useful in getting questions answered. Also, Fidelity is one of the top providers of Roth IRAs, right up there along with Vanguard and T. Rowe Price and Charles Schwab. So also, who knows? Maybe, down the line, I can approach Fidelity for corporate sponsorship, after I have shown them that I'm helping them open up, many, many accounts. So, another question you may have is you may be wondering, how does this project help my company secure more corporate sponsorships to fund our financial seminars? Great question. So there are many large corporations that give sponsorships to financial educators who provide financial literacy programs. All right. For example, currently, our company has a corporate sponsorship that funds the financial seminars that we do for the local school system, for the staff of the local school system. And so, but I've noticed that, these corporations, they often allocate funding based on the social proof that the educator's program is effective. So this program will help my company gain more social proof and therefore put us in a position to receive more funding. Right. So let me know if you have additional questions. And let's jump into an overview of retirement accounts. All right. So there are several different types of retirement accounts. I want to go through some different accounts. Now, if you are a W-2 employee, right? If you have a regular job, right? If you are a W-2 earner, right? Then your company might offer a 401k or a Roth 401k. Basically, those are just employer sponsored retirement plans. And by the way, check if you do have a regular job, check to see if your employer has any type of matching. Because if they are going to match your contributions up to a certain level, make sure you take full advantage of that match because that's free money, right? So like for example, many companies might match you up to the first 3% or 4% or 5%. I think some even up to like 6% and more even, whatever it is, make sure you take full advantage of the employer match, right? Um, and so that's just a little side note there. Now, what about the 403B and the Raw 403B? Now, that's an employee that also is an employer sponsored plan, but it's for like, government. So like, school systems and hospitals, right? It's those types of jobs that would have a 403B or 403 or a Raw 403B, right? 457 and a Raw 457, same type of thing. I believe that's also like government, or government sponsored. I mean, like, it's like a 401k, but for government jobs, kind of, right? Especially TSP, I know for sure. TSP and the Roth TSP, that's thrift savings plan. That's like federal government employee sponsored retirement, right? So that's what those are. Now let's talk about, you see down here where it says self-employed. So if you have your own business, right, there's the solo 401k, the Roth solo 401k, the SEP IRA, the simple IRA, so those are like retirement plans for people that have their own business. But now check this out. Look at the intersection of the employee and the self-employed. These accounts here, anyone can open up, whether you're an employee or whether you're self-employed, right? So you have the HSA, that's health savings account, right? An IRA, individual retirement account, right? An IRA, a Roth IRA, right? Which is something that we're going to be focusing on, Roth IRA, spousal IRA, right? And just a regular brokerage account, right? Where you're not really getting the tax benefits. It's just opening up a regular brokerage account. So that's that. And then you look at children, right? There's these accounts, for children. So the custodian, the custodial IRA and the custodial Roth IRA, which is another thing that we're going to be focusing on, right? The 529. Now you may be wondering, why is 529 in here talking about retirement accounts? Because as you may know, 529, it's like the state sponsored savings plan to save for your kids' future education expenses, right? But here's the thing about the 529 plan is that although it's not technically a retirement account, but a 529 plan can be rolled over into a Roth, IRA. Um, and so, that's why we are including it here. And also UGMA or UTMA, so these are just other types of custodial accounts for kids. But really, we're going to be focusing a lot on the Roth IRA and the custodian Roth IRA, right? But I just want to give you just like a little overview of this of several different retirement accounts. These are like the most popular ones. There's also several others too, right? But just want to give you just an overview of some of the popular retirement accounts. Now, let's talk about stocks. All right. Let me give you a background regarding, let me move this. I need to move this bar out of the way. Ah, okay. Okay. So let me give you an overview of the most typical stock investments. Okay. So first, though, I want to make sure we're all on the same page, right? In terms of the understanding. Okay. So, because I know that, this stuff wasn't taught in school, right? So a stock is a share of ownership of a single company, and the price of the stock is dependent on the performance of that one single company, right? So as you can imagine, that's very risky. It's very risky to invest in individual stocks, right? Because if that particular company goes bankrupt, then you've lost your money, right? So it's very risky to invest in individual stocks. But now let's talk about stock mutual funds, right? A stock mutual fund represents a collection of multiple companies. And so the price of a stock mutual fund is not dependent on a single company. It's dependent on a collection of multiple companies. And so, as you can imagine, that's much safer, right? A mutual fund is much safer than a individual stock, right? Okay. And if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the in the chat box. So now there are different types of mutual funds. Okay. The type I prefer are stock index funds because they simply invest in a specific list of stocks that pertain to a specific market index. For example, the S&P 500 index is a very popular index, right? It's just a list of all of the top 500 corporations in the United States. That's what the S&P 500 is, right? It's an index, right? And so therefore, index funds, right? Index funds. So for example, an index fund that tracks the S&P 500, right? It's just going to invest in those 500 of the top United States corporations, right? And so therefore, they are not actively managed by an investment manager, right? They're not actively managed by an investment manager. And therefore, the fees regarding stock index funds are much lower than the fees regarding regular mutual funds. All right. So I highly prefer, a index fund, a stock index fund. I believe that's the best type of mutual fund. The best type of mutual fund is a stock index fund, in my opinion, right? And by the way, this is just for educational purposes only. All right. You have to do your own research, right? All right. Now, what type of retirement accounts should your index fund go into? Okay. Great question, right? What type of retirement account should your index fund go into? Now, I prefer Roth IRA, and here's why. All right, let me give you some background. Okay, now an IRA is a individual retirement account, right? Now, an individual retirement account, and there are several different types of IRAs, right? Now, two of the most well-known types are traditional IRAs and Roth IRAs. And here's the difference. With traditional IRAs, contributions that you make into a traditional IRA, your contributions are tax deductible, right? So you get a tax deduction in the current year right, for the contributions that you put into your traditional IRA, right? So you save money in the current year on your taxes. You save money on your taxes because your contributions into a traditional IRA are tax deductible, right? You lower your taxable income by the amount of your contributions into a traditional IRA. Okay, so that there's a good thing. But here's the thing, though. Here's the thing about that. The withdrawals from a traditional IRA during your retirement years, right? When you reach retirement age and you start to withdraw money from your traditional IRA, those withdrawals are fully taxable, right? Fully taxable. All right. And so that's why I don't really like, yeah. And so that's why I prefer Roth IRAs over traditional IRAs, okay? Because with Roth IRAs, the contributions that you make into a Roth IRA, although they are not tax deductible, so you won't get any type of tax benefit in the current year, right? On your contributions into a Roth IRA, although they're not tax deductible in the current year, but the withdrawals from the accounts, right, during retirement, after you reach retirement age and you start withdrawing money from your Roth IRA, all of that money is tax free. It's not taxable, right? So that's why I prefer Roth IRAs because of the huge future tax savings. The fact that, although you don't get a tax, you don't get a tax deduction in the current year, but that money that you have in a Roth IRA is going to grow tax free. And when you reach retirement age and you start to pull out that money, it's all tax free, right? So that's why we're focusing on Roth IRA stock index funds. Let me know if you have any questions about that. Now, what's the difference between active income and passive income? Let's talk about it. What's the difference between active income and passive income? Well, here's the thing. Active income is where you are trading your time for money, right? You're working a job, you're right, and you're putting in, hours, right? And they're paying you, right? So it's like you're trading your time for money. That's what active income is. But passive income is where your assets are making money for you. All right. Like if invest in the stock market and then the money, your assets are making money for you, right? If you invest in real estate, right? If you do it wisely, right? Of course, you got to do it wisely, right? You got to invest in the stock market wisely. You got to invest in real estate wisely, right? This is definitely assuming that you're doing this is definitely assuming that you're making wise investments, right? You make these investments and basically you're just buying assets that will make you money, right? And it'll be passive income because you own the asset and the asset is making you money. It's not like you are trading your time for money. It's the asset that's working for you, right? So, passive income is where your assets are making money for you. Now, what is financial freedom and how do we achieve it, right? Now, financial freedom is when your passive income, right? Remember, passive income is when your assets are making money for you. So you don't have to spend time on it, right? Your assets are making money for you. Financial freedom is when your passive income exceeds your cost of living. Because in that position, work is optional for you. You don't have to work, right? You you don't have to work, you get to work, right? At that stage, right? It's like you work if you want to work, right? In that position, you can do work that you want to do because you don't have to do any type of work, right? So you get to choose what type of work you want to do, right? You get to choose what you want to do, right? And that's what financial freedom is all about, right? Financial freedom is about having the freedom to make your work optional, right? Because financial freedom is when your passive income exceeds your cost of living, right? Because in that position, work is optional for you, right? And your assets are making money for you, right? So in other words, another way to think of it is this, people can get financially rich by doing the right things, but people become financially wealthy by owning the right things, right? Owning assets that make money for you, right? And say it in a different way, financial freedom comes when you disconnect your revenue generation from time. When you disconnect your revenue generation from your time, because time is a limited resource. And that is why passive income is so powerful. It's income that comes from the assets you own. The asset is making the money for you. You don't have to spend any time on it because the asset is working for you, right? So very powerful, very powerful. And so we achieve financial freedom by building up our assets. And one of the easiest assets to build up is a Roth IRA stock index fund. Now, let me give you a step-by-step process for setting up our children to become millionaires and creating generational wealth that will become our legacy, which will far exceed our lifetime. All right. 3 steps, 3 simple steps to setting up our children to become millionaires. All right. Number one is this: when your child is born, hire your child as a baby model and use pictures of your child in the marketing of your business. Even if your business is just a very small side hustle business, right? All right. Hire your child, right, as a baby model, right? And that way the child has earned income and you can legally open up a custodian Roth IRA for your child, even if the child's a baby, right? Isn't that cool? Right? Because you hire your baby as a baby model to promote your business, right? Even if it's just a small side business, right? All right, now number two. All right, and we're just talking about like this would just be like maybe what $100, maybe 150, $200, something like that, right? Or even just $10, right? Even $1, you know what I'm saying? Really, even $1, but just open up the account, fund the account, right? And now here's the thing, number two. Now this is when we really start to build, right? When your child grows up, all right, whenever your child does any type of work, right? Any type of work, like mowing lawns, shoveling snow, raking leaves, babysitting, right? So maybe when they're around, what, 11, 12, 13, and they're starting to do like real work, right? Train your child to develop the habit of always giving away 10% of every paycheck as a tithe, right? Giving away 10% and always investing 20% of every paycheck into their Roth IRA accounts, right? Their custodian Roth IRA accounts, right? Because they're minors, right? So 20%. Train them at the very beginning to have that habit of always, okay, they're going to give 10% away and they're going to, invest 20%, right? And then the remaining, 70% is just money that they can do whatever with, right? Because they're kids. It's not like the kid is paying rent or anything, right? And it's not like they're buying their own food, right? So, but make sure you develop that habit of giving and investing from the very start. And I tell you, if you train them as a child to do that, most likely they're going to maintain that habit for the rest of their life because you've trained them as children to practice this habit, right? And now, number three is this: as the child becomes a teenager, now here's where it gets real serious. When they become a teenager and when they get a part-time job, right? Whether it's like at a fast food place or at a grocery store or wherever, at the mall, whatever type of whatever type of part-time job, they get when they're like a teenager, maybe around what, 15, 16 years old, right? When they get like a part-time job, continue to make sure that your child, right, your teenager now maintains the habit of always giving away 10% of every paycheck as a tithe and always investing 20% of every paycheck into their custodian Roth IRA account. Okay. Now, here's the thing. If we help our children follow this simple plan, by the time they reach the age of 18, most likely they will have at least $10,000 in their custodian Roth IRA account, right? Most likely, if you think about it, right? I mean, all that part-time work is, if they, if if they've always, if you have that habit, if you train them to always put 20% of all of their earned income, right, into this account, by the time they're 18, most likely they'll have at least 10,000, right? And here's the cool thing about it is that um, even if they never contribute any more money into their custodian Roth IRA, right? That one account will still grow to be over $1 million by the time they reach the age of 65 because of the power of compound interest. From the age 18 to the age 65, $10,000 will grow to be over $1 million. Right now, of course, stock market goes up and down, but if you look at any like 20-year, 30-year, 40-year period of the stock market, it always goes up. And the average return is what, like around 10%, you know? So if you do the math, you'll see that over time, that will grow to be a significant amount. And this is just assuming that they never put any more money into it. Now, hopefully, right? And the plan is that they will continue this habit through, you know, their 20s and 30s and, what I'm saying, and beyond, right? And so, really, if they continue this habit, they should be a multimillionaire by the time they reach retirement age, right? Just by getting our children to start early to invest, we set them up to become millionaires, right? Really multimillionaires, right? Let me know if you have any questions. Um, this is very important. I wanted to include this in here because we're talking a lot about money and investing and becoming a millionaire and all that, right? But I want to make sure also that we're clear that more important than the investing is the mindset. We have to instill within our children the proper mindset towards money, right? I mean, it's great. It's important that we train our children to have that habit of always, giving away 10% and investing 20%, right? But most important of all is that we have to give our children the mindset. And for example, in the Bible, in this Bible verse, these two Bible verses, First Timothy chapter 6, 17 through 18, it says, "Command those who are rich in this present world not to be arrogant, nor to put their hope in wealth, which is so uncertain, but to put their hope in God, who richly provides us with everything for our enjoyment. Command them to do good, to be rich in good deeds, and to be generous and willing to share." All right. So, very important that as we're teaching our children financial literacy, it's very important that we also are instilling within them and teaching them to have the right mindset towards money, right? Um, Okay, let's see. Okay, now before I wrap up, I want to also share with you this thing. This is the 7 types of income streams, right? 7 types of income streams. It's very important to understand that there are 7 types of income streams. A lot of people only understand one type of income stream, which is W-2 income, all right? And that's just one type. But it's so important to understand that there's 7 types because it's very important to develop multiple streams of income, you know? Now, I'm gonna quickly go through these 7 types of income streams. Number one is W-2 income, right? It's the income from work that you do as an employee. This type of income is active income, which means you are trading your time for money, right? So really, it's the worst type of income stream, but it's the one that most of us, if not all of us, most of us start with W-2 income, right? Start by, and so this type of income is the most heavily taxed. You notice that? The tax code, by the way, the tax code is designed to benefit business owners and investors. It's not designed to benefit W-2 income earners, right? So that's why, W-2 income is the most heavily taxed of all the types of income. Okay, so that's W-2 income. Business income. This is income from operating a business. The advantage regarding this type of income is that the IRS allows business owners to take a wide range of tax deductions that lower taxable income. Because, as I said earlier, the tax code is designed to benefit business owners and investors. If you are working in the business, it is active income. If you are hiring people to work in the business for you, it becomes passive in nature, which means your money is making money for you, right? Or in other words, your asset, the business is making money for you, right? Although you still have to oversee it, right? So of course, W-2 income is definitely active income. Now, business income can be active income or passive income, or maybe, a blend of both based on how involved you are in the business, right? Next one, interest income. This type is passive in nature, but technically it's called portfolio income, right? But for all, but in general, we can look at it as passive income, right? Because we're not having to trade our time for money for it, right? Examples include high yield savings accounts and private money lending, right? So when you're earning interest, it's passive income because it's where your asset, right? The money is making money for you. It's not like you have to spend any time making the money. And it's not like you have to trade your time for the money. It's the asset, it's the money that's making the money for you, right? Now, dividend income is income from distributions to shareholders. This type is also passive in nature. A great example of dividend income is the stock index mutual fund, right? When they're giving you dividends, right? Also, capital gains income. Capital gains is income from the increase in the value of assets, such as mutual funds, right? Real estate, etc. It's passive in nature, right? Right? So, it's where you make the investment and then the money is making the money for you, right? Now, rental income. This is income from the rental of assets such as real estate, cars, equipment, etc. Depending on how involved you are, it can be passive or it can be active, right? Um, and then the seventh one is royalty income. This is income from selling the rights to use an asset, such as intellectual property, right? Examples include books, online courses, YouTube channel monetization, right? It's very passive income, although a lot of upfront work is required, right? You have to do the work up front, right? So that's active, right, in the beginning, but once it's created, once that intellectual property is created, whether it's a book or a course or or whatever, like an online course or a book or whatever, even YouTube channel, videos like educational videos, right? Once it's created, then it can make money for you and you don't have to spend any type of significant um, time into it, to keep it going, right? It just continues to roll in. Like you think about the author of Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill. You know that his heirs are continuing to receive payments, royalty payments from his book, Think and Grow Rich. That's a very passive income, right? The book was written, it's done, and now it keeps earning income, right? So let me know if you have any questions about that. Seven types of income streams. This is a really cool example of the power of compound interest and the importance of starting early, right? This program, we're really focused on getting not only people to invest, but also getting their children to invest, right? Because we want people to start as early as possible, right? Even babies, right? We talked about how we're even getting babies to invest because we're able to hire them as baby models and stuff. But here's an example of how like suppose you're investing $100 a month, right? Into just an average Roth IRA stock index fund, right? So over the long term, it's going to average like around 10%, right? Because that's been what the average has been in the past, right? And so it's pretty safe to assume that it's going to continue to be like around 10% over the long term, even though remember in the short term it goes up and down, up and down, but over the long term it has always gone up, right? So let's use 10% as our number, right? And if a 16-year-old, if you start at the age of 16, you invest $100 a month, by the age of 65, you'll have like over $1.5 million, right? Now, let's say you wait though 10 years and you start at the age of 26, all right? And you do $100 a month. But now at the age of 65, it's only like a little bit over $500,000. Right? Still a lot of money, but think about how you missed out on like almost $1 million just by waiting 10 years, you know? Now, let's say you start at 36. Well, then it's going to be around 200,000, right? And let's say you start at 46, then it's only going to be around 67,000, right? So this just shows how powerful time is. And this is why, again, this is why we're really, really focusing on the babies and the kids and the young adults, right? Because one of their most valuable assets is time. They have time, you know? At least most of them do, right? I guess you never really know when a person's, time is up, right? But, a young person, most likely, a young person is going to live a long time, right? So, now want to quickly note about budget, a zero-based budget. This is so important to do a budget, right? Because a lot of people, feel as though, oh, they don't have money for certain things. But like if you do a budget and you track your income, it's amazing how a lot of times you'll find money that you didn't know you had, right? Because when you become aware of how you're spending your money, most often you will see ways in which you can make certain adjustments, right? So like for example, some people have subscriptions that they don't even use, right? And I'm not even aware of it, right? So, so now here's the thing. A budget is telling your money where to go instead of wondering where it went, right? You want to track every penny because tracking promotes awareness, and awareness gives you the ability to identify where you need to make changes, all right? So a zero-based budget is basically where you're going to list out your expected inflow and your expected outflows, right? You're gonna list them out every month before the month begins. You're gonna list them out. You're gonna put in your estimates, and then as you go through the month, you're going to track. You're going to track what you're spending on, and then at the end of the month, you're going to total it up, and you're going to compare your actual with your expected. So it's just about building awareness. Now, paycheck routine. Ooh, this is really cool. You want to, have a paycheck routine, right? Where you systematically you are tracking and you are allocating your paycheck to different categories, right? So here's the thing. This is a goal. Now, of course, unexpected stuff comes up, right? And you have to pivot, right? With unexpected stuff, right? But at least it's always important to have targets you want to aim for, right? And so, um, 50 to 60% of your paycheck is a good target for necessities, right? Now, and I know some people are saying, well, no, look, I live in a very high cost environment, and rent is very high and all this, or mortgage is very high or whatever, and I get it, but I'm saying this is some good targets to aim for, right? You want to get your necessities covered. You want to target to get that covered no more than like 50 to 60%, right? Really, the lower the better. But 50 to 60% to necessities. And you want to, list out all, and like even the debt repayment and the extra debt payments and all that, right? Now, 10%, you want to have a habit of putting 10% into your emergency fund if it's not fully funded, right? A fully funded emergency fund is like at least 3 to 6 months of your living expenses, right? So if you don't have at least 3 to 6 months of your living expenses, then you want to be, putting at least 10% of your paycheck into building up your emergency fund. And then 10 to 20% into investing, right? Into investing, Roth, IRA, stock index fund. By the way, though, if you have a regular job and if they're matching your contributions, make sure you take full advantage of that. So make sure you are, contributing to your employer sponsored plan, but only up to the match. Only up to the match. Don't do more than the match because really those plans have a lot of fees. And so, the only real benefit of participating is if your employer is matching your contributions, then definitely take advantage of that. But if not, then just focus on, the other stuff like Roth IRAs and stuff. And then other accounts and stuff. Okay. And then here's the cool thing, 20% to your fund money, right? Allocate like 20% to things that you enjoy and are meaningful and fulfilling, like eating out and, a nice gym membership and therapy, and personal coaching and entertainment, things like that. So let me know what you think about that. Now, last slide. Here we go. We want to talk about a framework of financial priorities, right? So here's the thing. This is a general framework. Each person you might have to kind of adjust. But here's just a general framework. Number one, first priority, I'd say is to give, right? I really believe that it's so very important to prioritize giving because when we give to others from a sincere heart of gratitude, we confirm to ourselves that we have an abundance. And that abundance mindset helps us to achieve even more, right? Scientific studies have shown that people who give, it comes back to them. And scientific studies have shown that like it changes your brain chemistry in the way that when you give from a sincere heart of gratitude, you start to see yourself as a problem solver. And as you see yourself as a problem solver, it really carries over into other areas of your life. And it actually sets you up to even earn more income when you have this type of positive self-image, as you see yourself as a problem solver. Very interesting study that I heard about, So prioritize giving, right? Even if it's just a small amount, you know? And now number two is prioritize building up a 1,000 mini emergency fund. So if you don't have any emergency fund at all, make sure you really prioritize building up at least $1,000 into your emergency fund, right? Number three, pay off all high interest debt. So any debt that is above 8% is high interest. All right. And you want to prioritize getting rid of high interest debt. Now, eventually you want to get rid of all debt, especially all consumer debt, right? But you definitely want to prioritize any debt that's over 8%. Um, and then focus on the other debts, especially the consumer debt, right? And by the way, just a quick side note, there's a difference between bad debt and good debt, right? Bad debt is like consumer debt, right? But good debt is debt that you take on because it's giving you leverage to make even more money, right? You know, saying so, but be careful with debt though. Be very careful with debt. Number four, employer sponsored retirement fund, but only up to the match. Remember, we talked about that. Only invest up to the match, because that's free money if they're matching you, you know. And then number five, expand your emergency fund to be 6 months of your living expenses, right? The best place to put it is in a high yield savings account or a money market account. Don't keep your money in just a regular savings account that's paying like less than 1% interest. Put it into a high yield savings account or a money market account, right? So that way you're earning higher interest than a regular savings account, right? Like for example, Capital One right now is paying over 4% in yearly interest in their high yield savings accounts. So that's okay. And then number six, auto invest into a Roth IRA stock index fund. Auto invest into a Roth IRA stock index fund. You want to make it automatic each month because that way you stay consistent, you know, where you make it automatic, you know. Number seven, auto invest also into a non-retirement stock index fund. You can just open up a regular brokerage account and just invest in a non-retirement stock index fund as well. Eight, build multiple streams of income through entrepreneurship, right? Keep in mind, every hobby is a potential stream of income. Every hobby is a potential business. And so you want to think about what are the things that you're passionate about and think about ways in which you can churn those hobbies into businesses, churn your passions into profits, right? Number nine, build multiple streams of passive income through business ownership, stock market investing, and real estate investing. Passive income is so great because you put in the work up front, but once it's established, then there's no need for any significant additional work other than just tracking and managing the stream. The stream will automatically continue to bring you income without any type of significant additional work. All right. Thank you for watching. And let me know if you have any questions. All right. Thank you so much for watching. And just remember, I want to leave you with this quote. I saw this quote on a webinar. I heard this quote on a webinar and it really, really touched me. It says that we get rich by doing the right things, but we become financially wealthy by owning the right things, right? Meaning owning assets that are making money for us, which is what passive income is all about, right? All right. Well, take care. God bless you. And I'll see you next time on the next webinar.